Welcome to Streaming News Network, Morning Edition, by Claude McDaniel. News without the hype and biased reporting. Please like and subscribe.
This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Tensions are rising in Venezuela following last week's devastating twin earthquakes, as rescue efforts continue amid growing political controversy. Authorities say the death toll has climbed above 1,700, with approximately 5,000 people injured and more than 23,000 affected by the powerful earthquakes. United States officials have confirmed that at least 3 Americans lost their lives, while a dozen remain missing. United States military personnel and civilian search and rescue teams have joined the international response. Members of an elite American rescue team successfully pulled a 9-month-old baby and the child's mother from the rubble after they had been trapped for nearly 3 days. However, videos circulating on social media appear to show Diosdado Cabello confronting American rescue workers during operations. One rescuer can be heard questioning why they were being prevented from assisting someone believed to be trapped. Cabello is wanted by United States authorities on charges that include narcoterrorism, cocaine trafficking, and firearms-related offenses, with a reward of $25 million offered for information leading to his arrest. He has denied wrongdoing. Following the video's release, Carlos A. Jimenez criticized Cabello and called for his arrest. Meanwhile, frustration continues to grow among many Venezuelan residents, with videos showing citizens accusing government and military officials of slowing rescue efforts and obstructing aid. The humanitarian crisis continues as emergency crews search for survivors and thousands remain displaced. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. A Maryland man has been sentenced to life in prison after pleading guilty to the kidnapping and murder of a respected garden store owner in a case that shocked the local community. 67-year-old Edward Stephen Koza was found dead inside his burning pickup truck outside his Davidsonville business, Tropic Bay Water Gardens, in May of last year. Investigators determined Koza had been attacked inside his store before being bound, restrained, and forced into his own vehicle. Authorities say former employee Jonah Michael Poole, who was 18 at the time of the crime, admitted to first-degree murder. Prosecutors alleged that Poole, along with 18-year-old Kylie Alyssa Dakes, drove Koza around before setting the truck on fire while he was still inside. Police also discovered evidence of a violent struggle inside the business, including blood and personal belongings. As part of his sentence, Poole was ordered to surrender approximately $215,000 that investigators say was stolen from the victim, along with a truck allegedly purchased using additional stolen funds. Those assets will be transferred to Koza's estate. Dakes has pleaded not guilty, and her first-degree murder trial is scheduled to begin in December. Customers continue to remember Edward Koza as a generous business owner whose knowledge, kindness, and passion for nature touched countless lives. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. Archaeologists excavating the ancient site of Shiloh in Israel say new discoveries are adding to the debate over the possible location where the biblical Ark of the Covenant was once housed. Researchers from the Associates for Biblical Research announced they have uncovered additional walls from a large ancient structure, along with worship-related artifacts, including altar horns, ceramic pomegranates, and shells used to produce the blue dye traditionally associated with priestly garments. The newly discovered southern wall has allowed archaeologists to better estimate the building's dimensions. They say its orientation and proportions resemble descriptions of the tabernacle found in the Bible, the portable sanctuary believed to have housed the Ark of the Covenant for centuries. Excavators also identified additional fortifications and uncovered storage jars containing charred olives, wheat, and lentils. Scientists plan to conduct radiocarbon testing to help determine the age of those findings. While the discoveries are being described as significant, researchers emphasize they have not found the Ark of the Covenant itself and have not conclusively proven that the structure is the biblical tabernacle. Instead, they say the evidence is consistent with historical and biblical accounts, and further excavation will be needed before any definitive conclusions can be reached. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. The House of Representatives has overwhelmingly rejected a war powers resolution introduced by Rashida Tlaib that sought to prohibit United States military involvement in Lebanon. The measure failed by a vote of 189 to 235, with 22 Democrats joining nearly all Republicans in opposition. Among Republicans, Thomas Massie voted in favor of the proposal. The resolution called for preventing United States forces from engaging in hostilities in Lebanon. However, opponents argued that the United States is not currently conducting combat operations there, making the measure unnecessary. During debate, Brian Mast said American personnel in Lebanon are focused on training the Lebanese armed forces rather than participating in combat. He also pointed to the continuing security threat posed by Hezbollah in southern Lebanon as justification for maintaining that mission. Representative Tlaib revised an earlier version of the resolution to clarify that diplomatic security and cooperation with Lebanon's military would remain exempt. Her previous proposal had drawn criticism from lawmakers who argued it could have affected embassy security and military assistance. Although the measure carried symbolic significance, it was a concurrent resolution and would not have been sent to the president for approval even if it had passed. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. The Trump administration has suspended federal funding for New York's Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, citing concerns over the agency's performance in investigating and prosecuting healthcare fraud. In a letter to state officials, the Inspector General of the United States Department of Health and Human Services said New York's unit secured fewer criminal fraud convictions than several other large states between 2023 and 2025. Federal officials argued that the agency failed to meet grant requirements and announced that funding will remain suspended through at least September 30 unless corrective actions are taken. Letitia James strongly disputed the decision, stating that her office has recovered more than $627 million for the Medicaid program during her tenure. She also noted that New York has previously received federal recognition for its anti-fraud efforts and said the state is considering legal action to challenge the funding freeze. Federal officials acknowledged that New York has focused on pursuing larger, more complex fraud cases rather than a higher volume of smaller cases but concluded that the strategy had not produced sufficient criminal results. The action follows a similar funding suspension involving Hawaii and is part of a broader federal initiative aimed at strengthening oversight of Medicaid and other government healthcare programs. This is Claude McDaniel of Streaming News Network. A federal judge in New York has sentenced Chinese businessman Guo Wengui to 30 years in prison after his conviction in a billion-dollar fraud and money laundering scheme. Guo, a former real estate developer who left China in 2017 and later became a vocal critic of the Chinese Communist Party, was found guilty of racketeering, fraud, and money laundering. According to prosecutors, Guo raised more than $1 billion from supporters through investment and cryptocurrency ventures between 2018 and 2023. Authorities said much of that money was diverted to finance an extravagant lifestyle that included a luxury mansion, high-end vehicles, and a multi-million-dollar yacht. During sentencing, the judge stated that Guo had exploited individuals who believed they were supporting efforts to promote democracy in China, using their trust for personal financial gain. Federal prosecutors said the sentence reflects the seriousness of the offenses and serves as a reminder that wealth and public influence do not place anyone above the law. Guo has denied the allegations, maintaining that the funds were used to support his political activism. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. New Jersey authorities have announced charges against 63 people accused of participating in an international luxury vehicle theft and trafficking operation valued at more than $8 million. Investigators allege the organization stole more than 90 high-end vehicles, including Porsche, BMW, and Range Rover models, during a year-long operation spanning New Jersey and New York. According to prosecutors, the stolen vehicles were delivered to alleged organizers, then transported to a shipping yard where they were loaded into containers and exported through ports in New Jersey and New York. Authorities say many of the vehicles were destined for buyers in Ghana and Nigeria in West Africa. All 63 defendants face first-degree racketeering charges, along with additional allegations that include vehicle theft, receiving stolen property, residential burglary, and participation in an organized auto theft trafficking network. New Jersey Attorney General Jennifer Davenport said the investigation demonstrates the state's commitment to aggressively pursuing organized auto theft operations. If convicted, some defendants could face prison sentences ranging from 10 to 20 years on the most serious charges, along with substantial financial penalties. Authorities say the investigation involved multiple law enforcement agencies and believe they have dismantled a sophisticated criminal enterprise responsible for the theft and overseas trafficking of dozens of luxury vehicles. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Former Councilman Jerome Hayward has been sentenced to 6 years in federal prison after pleading guilty in a sweeping public corruption investigation centered in North Charleston, South Carolina. Federal prosecutors described the case as one of the state's largest public corruption investigations in decades. Authorities said Hayward admitted to abusing his public office by accepting bribes, soliciting payments in exchange for official actions, and participating in kickback schemes involving public grant funds intended for violence reduction programs. In addition to the prison sentence, United States District Judge Richard Gergel ordered 3 years of supervised release, restitution totaling $200,000, and participation in a mental health treatment program. Hayward was taken into federal custody immediately following sentencing. According to prosecutors, the broader investigation has resulted in charges against 8 individuals and uncovered multiple corruption schemes involving city government. Several other defendants have already pleaded guilty and received prison sentences. During the hearing, Hayward accepted responsibility for his actions and asked the court for mercy, expressing remorse for violating the public's trust. Federal officials say the investigation remains one of the most significant public corruption cases in South Carolina in recent years. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Veteran British actor Michael Byrne has died at the age of 82, bringing to a close a film and television career that spanned more than 5 decades. Byrne was widely recognized for portraying the villain Colonel Vogel in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and later appeared as the young Gellert Grindelwald in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Throughout his career, Byrne also appeared in acclaimed productions including Braveheart, Tomorrow Never Dies, and Gangs of New York. Television audiences in the United Kingdom also knew him for his role as Ted Page on the long-running series Coronation Street. Following news of his passing, fans around the world shared tributes on social media, remembering Byrne for his memorable performances, particularly his portrayal of iconic villains and character roles that left a lasting impression on audiences. Michael Byrne is remembered for a distinguished career that touched both the big and small screens and entertained generations of viewers.
Thank you for listening to Streaming News Network videos and our short reports. Please like and subscribe to our news channel.